Hey everybody. If you follow me for a while, you know that I love talking about bottles. I love talking about the differences and choices of bottles. If you follow me professionally, you know that I teach a 7-hour professional course on optimally picking bottles for babies. And it's really funny. Yesterday I posted a video about nipple confusion. Really is one of the most common questions I get, and I really don't believe there is anything as nipple confusion. There can be flow confusion for how fast it flows, but usually if a baby can't latch to something, it's because of oral motor skills. It's anatomy. It's the anatomy of the mouth that causes physiology. So what it looks like determines what it does and how it moves, and that can cause symptoms. So when we're talking about picking a bottle, there is a difference between functional and optimal. It always is funny to me because I get a lot of parents that when I post, oh, we want a tapered nipple, we want to promote a deep latch, are like, but my baby takes the Como just fine, and my baby loves the ma'am. Right, most likely it's because you have a functional baby. Usually, if you have a functional baby that can feed off of anything, they will latch to any bottle system and be functional. It's just like with a straw, right? So if I have functional mouth skills as an adult, I can drink from any straw that you give me. Now, all of these straws will make my mouth function differently. And some of these straws are more optimal for my muscles than others, right? This straw, these are my kids, right? This straw will function different than this straw and these two other straws. And this one obviously has a spoon on the end, which will function differently. If you have good oral motor skills or you've learned to control your mouth, there's no anatomical differences prohibiting how you use your anatomy, you can feed off of all of these just fine. But if you have a tongue tie, a high palate, oral motor weakness, there's something going on, one or multiple of these may be a challenge and you may have a preference. Same goes for us as adults, right? There's a difference between functional and optimal. So when you're eating, these are all functional forks, right? My kids love to try to eat fruit with this stinking meat server, right? These can all be functional depending on their use. This is functional for carving meat, not great for trying to eat watermelon. This is functional for a toddler, not great for an adult. This is really never functional. I hate sporks, and wood drives me nuts sensory-wise, right? But we have different forks for different functions. Now, if you have good oral motor skills, you're going to be able to use all of these forks and have a lot of fun with them. But for somebody who has an anatomical difference, one of these forks may function more optimally for them than something else. Same with spoons, right? Like these spoons, you would not be able to eat a big bowl of soup with this little appetizer spoon, right? But it's really fun if you're doing a dessert sorbet and you just want little tiny bites. Functional versus optimal. Same goes in the bottle feeding discussion. Okay, there are bottles that are on my hit list because a functional baby will be able to suck off almost anything. You could give them 27 different bottles and they could go back and forth without a problem. That doesn't mean that it's optimal for oral motor skills. Some babies need certain bottles because of their function. There might be a tongue tie. They might have difficulties coordinating the cupping of their tongue. They might have weakness in their lips. They might have learned a breastfeeding latch, which works completely different than the latch to a bottle. So sometimes we need to forego optimal for functional. So if your baby will take anything and it's functional, woohoo, right? Don't fix what ain't broke. If your baby is taking a bottle that in a therapy context, we might say, it's not quite optimal, but it's functional. Don't change it. Don't fall for the marketing, right? But if you're having symptoms from something, absolutely work with a lactation consultant to make sure that we're finding functional and optimal. So in the bottle feeding realm, as a speech therapist, I'm always looking for optimal with functional. So functional and optimal in my mind means promoting a breastfeeding latch, which means a round shape that looks like your nipple, that stays looking like your nipple. So a breastfeeding latch, the nipple should go in round and come out round. It should go in and out the same shape. We should have a nice tapered latch where the lips are nice and wide, right? So we're looking at nipple shape and the width of the base of that nipple. This I have a love-hate relationship with. This nipple is really long and tends to gag certain babies. So while many babies are functional on this, it's not optimal for everybody. And again, these have that nice tapered, wide base, round shape latch. These are optimal, but not always functional for some babies. So we have to find this balance between what is optimal to promote a latch, a good latch, good oral motor muscle use, and what's functional for a particular baby. So the reason why I usually don't recommend these types of bottles is because for many babies, they do promote a much shallower latch, which when they're using that mouth back at the breast can, for some, promote a shallow latch back at the breast, which then leads to pinching and leads to the confusion. They're used to using their muscles differently. The anatomy is causing them to function in a different way between the utensils. But many full-term healthy babies that have no issues with their mouth will go back and forth to whatever you throw at them just fine without it causing symptoms. So in, again, the bottle feeding realm, I love talking about bottles. I could talk about this all day. Yes, optimal is a round shape. And yes, some of these have round shapes, but in general, we want to promote that nice, wide, tapered latch because breast and bottle feeding do work completely different. So if you're like, yeah, but my baby takes this just fine and we're going back and forth, awesome. You have found functional and possibly optimal for you and your baby. But if you're really struggling to find the right bottle, or your baby's bottle refusing, or they're now only taking a bottle and refusing a breast, that could be anatomy and physiology of your baby. And it could also be the role of that bottle and how it's helping your baby latch to the bottle, which is making it more difficult for them to come back to breast. All right, so when we're talking again about latch confusion and nipple confusion and flow confusion, we're trying to find the perfect match of functional and optimal. We're looking for a nipple flow that matches the flow of your breast. If your baby's taking 20 minutes at the breast for a feeding, we're trying to find a bottle nipple that flows where it takes them 15 to 20 minutes. But if you have an efficient baby that's feeding in 5 minutes at the breast, you can go with a faster flow to match your flow. Again, optimal is finding a round-shaped nipple because that's what your nipple should look like. Again, sometimes babies can make the breast shape, they change the shape of the breast in the mouth where it can be more difficult to then find a good bottle shape. So that's where it really is unique. There is no one size fits all. Every baby is going to be different in how they latch, and all of these bottles will have some kind of different feature in their design to try to be able to help your baby feed efficiently. Biggest concerns is we don't want that baby being overfed on the bottle. We don't want it flowing too fast. That might cause them to swallow air and become more refluxy or gassy. We don't want them leaking milk or coughing or choking or gagging. So if you're using a bottle and you're like, but they take it fine, but they're leaking milk, they're coughing, choking, gagging, they're pulling off and needing to catch their breath, they're chugging it down and looking like they're still hungry, most likely we need to find a different, more optimal bottle to help that baby be more functional. If you have any concerns about finding a bottle for your baby, I do have a pre-recorded parent class called Latched, which goes through different latching positions at the breast, different bottle choices and pacifiers, and I am also available for private bottle consultations. And I do those virtually. I've done them all around the world for bottle refusals or for babies who are preferring the bottle because of the flow and the nipple and are struggling to come back to breast. That can all be found on my website, lalactation.com, or I have links everywhere to be able to find all of those resources. You can also always email me at lalactation@gmail.com, because I really want to not only have your baby be functional, but also optimal. All right, now you know.